morning, boys and girls. I am going to start today with Module 4, Lesson 7. And for today, you are going to need your practice sheet for number 7 and your problem set. And then I'm going to ask you to do your homework on your own. And then there is no exit ticket. So your homework is pretty much like your exit ticket. So I'm going to ask you to post a picture of the homework in the area for me to check and see if you've got it down. So on this practice sheet, I first want us to estimate and then measure. What do you think the measurement is for X, Y, Z? Angle X, Y, Z. So if I take a look at my paper, oh, I forgot to mention, you're also going to need a 180 degree protractor and a pencil. I am going to use a highlighter for these purposes, just because I want to make sure we know which angle we're talking about. So I'm talking about this angle XYZ. And remember, you can always tell the vertex of the angle by the letter that's in the middle of your description or label. So angle XYZ, I'm going to turn my paper so that one of the lines is actually going horizontal. And if I look at it now, I can make a better guess that this is definitely an obtuse angle. It is greater than 90 degrees. So if I'm looking at this, if I know that this angle going like this would be 90, an angle that went like this would be 180. It's somewhere between 90 and 180, and it's almost right in the middle. So between 90 and 180, I'm going to guess there might be a 40 degree difference. So I'm going to guess that this angle might be about 140 degrees. That's my guess. All right, that's my estimate. It's about 140 degrees. Now I'm going to take my protractor and I'm going to make sure I line it up really well, and I'm going to measure it. So I take my target circle of my protractor right here, not on the bottom, but right in the middle of this target circle, put it on the vertex of my angle, and I line up this line with the two small lines here on either side of that target circle to make sure it's level. And I can see that I'm not going to have a good angle at seeing, or I'm not going to have a good shot at measuring this angle from here. So I'm going to extend my rays so that I can really get a good measurement. Feel free to do that on your paper too. Sorry, I keep getting it out of frame. So here we go. I'm going to line it up on the target circle. Make sure my lines are level. And I'm going to come out here and I'm going to see that it is an obtuse angle, and my angle opens up this way. So my 0 is on this side. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way up past 90 degrees. I'm going past 130 degrees, and every little tick is a degree. So 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. So I get 137 degrees, which is pretty darn close to my estimate. So you see how it's important for you to measure and extend out those rays or those lines so that you can get a nice accurate measurement. Let's take a look at angle CAB. All right, I'm going to turn my paper so that one line is horizontal to me. And then I know I'm not going to, if I put my target circle on the vertex and I line those lines up level, I see that it's not going to be easy for me to get an accurate measurement. So I'm going to extend it out And then I can put my, I'm going to do this one too, just to make sure my line is nice and level. And if I put it back on, I see that this one goes, my angle's opening this way. So now I have to count from the inside, because 0 is on the inside of these numbers. So 10, 20, 30, 40. It's between 40 and 50. And if I go follow up, these ticks still matter. So even though it says 140 on the outside, it's the same as if I were saying 40 on the inside. So 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. I have a 45-degree angle. All right, so there are some of your practice sheets. Oh, before we move on, I want to take a look at figure 4, because this is the first time that they've asked us to measure a reflex angle, or an angle that's greater than 180 degrees. If you notice, if I turn my paper this way, it looks like this is just a plain old obtuse angle. But this isn't what they want me to measure. This is what they want me to measure. And with a 180-degree protractor, if I put my target circle on the vertex, if you see, even if I drew this out, there is no way for me to figure out how far around this goes. Okay, even if I go like this, line it up this way, if I'm starting at, oops, my protractor's backwards, if I am starting at 0 here, and I go up and around, I run out of room to measure this portion of the circle, or I'm sorry, of the angle. So one of two things. You can use a circular protractor, which I do not have, or you can take and measure this inside angle. Let's measure this part, because we know our protractor can measure this part. And once we have this measurement, we can subtract it from 360 degrees to get this measurement, because this plus this equals 360 degrees, because that whole circle is the same as 360 degrees. So I'm going to first extend my segments. They don't have arrows, so I'm thinking they're segments. And now this one, just to make sure I get an accurate measurement. Now, line up my vertex and make sure that these lines are level. So my vertex goes in the target circle, and the bottom segment lines up here and also over here on the 0 line. That's why I extend that bottom line out, so it lines up with this little line and the 0 line. So now if I am measuring this obtuse angle, it's opening this way, so I start with 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 90. It's greater than 90, 100, 110, 120. It lands directly on the 130 degrees. So this portion of this is 130 degrees. If I, oops, not 13, 130. If I want to find out what this section here is, I know that a complete circle is 360 degrees. So if I take out what is on the other side, if I take out this, I'm going to have what's left over, and that will be the measurement of my angle, my reflex angle. So my reflex angle is 230 degrees. Hopefully that made some sense. I will try to find a video to post. Okay, the next part of our lesson, the problem set. You are going to need your protractor again and a pencil. It says construct angles that measure the given number of degrees. For problems 1 through 4, use the ray shown as one of the rays of the angle with its endpoint as the vertex of the angle. So this being this endpoint, this being this endpoint. So the endpoint is the opposite side of the arrow, down here and down here. Draw an arc to indicate that the angle, or what, to indicate the angle that was measured. So our first one gives us a ray and asks us to draw a 30-degree angle. So we're only given part of our angle. We take our target circle, we line it up with this line here and the 0 line here. So the vertex goes there, and I make sure I'm going to extend this a little bit so that I'm sure that my ray lands on that 0 line over here. So now that I have a nice level line, I go up to 30 degrees. Now I know that I'm using not this 30 degrees over here. I'm using the 30 degrees here because it's an acute angle. So I'm going to put a dot right there at the 30 point. And then I'm going to lift my protractor up, and I'm going to place my straight edge at the vertex, and I'm going to slide it until I connect to that point where the 30 degrees was, and I'm going to draw a ray like that. And I didn't quite hit it, but I'm very close. And so then I'm going to label this as 30 degrees. Now, let's move on to number 2. This time, my point for my vertex is on this side. So I'm going to extend this ray a little bit to make sure I get it nice and level. I'm going to put my target circle on the vertex and make sure that that ray is level with the markings on my protractor. There we go. And now this time they want me to measure a 65-degree angle. Well, I know that that's less than 90 degrees, and here's 90 degrees. The numbers that are less than 90 degrees going this way, because my angle is going to go this way this time, are on the outside. So I go over here and I count up 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. I put a point at the 65, and then I lift up my protractor and I line it up with the vertex and the point at the 65-degree mark, and I draw the other ray that makes up my angle. Don't forget your arrow, and don't forget to mark it like this with 65 degrees. The next angle I have here says 115 degrees. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to skip to the second page of the problem set, because in this page we don't have a starting ray. So what you have to do for 5 through 10 is you have to just put your protractor down or your straight edge, draw a ray anywhere on the page you want, well, anywhere within this number you want. Make sure you've got an arrow so that I know this angle is going to open up this way. So here's my vertex. I line up my vertex, make sure it's level, and then I need a 5-degree ray. So here's my 0 point. I'm going to start counting from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to put my dot or my point at the 5-degree angle mark. And I'm going to turn my paper and my protractor. I'm going to connect the vertex to that 5-degree point. You can see that that is a super skinny angle, 5 degrees. And let's try one more, this 175-degree angle. It's on this side of the page. So to make life easier, I'm going to draw a ray, and that is going to go this way. My angle is going to open up this way. Oh, you know what? It's going to have to be shorter, though. This side's going to have to be shorter because it's an obtuse angle. And an obtuse angle, if this is my 90-degree mark, it's going to be somewhere out in here. So I want my vertex to be somewhere in here.